Hey everyone, 99% of you watching aren't subscribed. Let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and at 1,000 subscribers, we'll drop special stories just for you.
The sky burned violet the night she fell. Out here, beyond the last rusted markers of civilization, the world looked half dead. The ash fields stretched for kilometers, gray dunes, blackened rock, and the skeletal remains of factories that hadn't breathed in decades. Even the wind dragged itself across the land, like it had somewhere better to be. That's why I liked it. No people, no noise, no rules, just survival. I was sitting on the broken frame of an old transport rig, sharpening the edge of a scrap blade more out of habit than necessity, when the sky changed. At first, it was subtle, a shimmer, then a streak. A line of white fire tore across the violet clouds, fast. Too fast for anything human-made. It cut through the atmosphere with a scream that came a second too late, like the sky itself was reacting in pain. I stood, not a meteor. I muttered. I'd seen meteors before. They didn't maneuver. This thing did. It curved, adjusted, fought the fall. Then it lost. The streak shattered into a blazing arc and slammed into the dunes beyond the refinery ruins. The impact hit a heartbeat later, deep violent. The ground trembled under my boots, sending loose ash sliding down the slopes. Silence followed, not natural silence, the kind that presses in on your ears. I slid the blade into my belt and grabbed my jacket. Whatever had landed out there wasn't ordinary. And out here, not ordinary meant one of two things: valuable or deadly, usually both. The refinery ruins loomed like a graveyard as I crossed them. Twisted pipes, collapsed towers, shadows that didn't quite behave right in the low light. I moved fast but quiet, stepping where the ground wouldn't give me away. Old habits, good ones. The air grew warmer the closer I got. A faint metallic scent mixed with something sharper. Ozone, maybe. Energy discharge. Definitely not human tech. When I crested the final ridge, I saw it, a crater carved into the ash, still glowing faintly at the edges. Sand had been blasted outward in a perfect ring, like something had punched straight through the world. At the center lay the object, sleek, silver. Wrong. It wasn't bulky like human ships. No seams where there should have been seams. No visible engines. Just a smooth, curved surface that seemed to drink in the dim light around it. And it was humming, low, constant, alive. I crouched at the edge of the crater, scanning. No movement. No guards. No obvious weapons. That made it worse. I slid down carefully, boots sinking slightly into the still warm ash. The closer I got, the stronger the hum became. Not loud, but intrusive, like it was vibrating somewhere behind my eyes. Yeah, I murmured. Definitely not from around here. I circled the pod slowly, looking for an entry point. There had to be one. Everything built by anything, human or not, needed access. Then the surface shifted. I froze. A thin line of light appeared along the side of the pod, glowing brighter as it traced a perfect curve. The metal, or whatever it was, peeled back silently, folding into itself like liquid. A hatch, opening. I took a step back, instinct kicking in. Something inside moved. For a split second, I considered leaving. Smart choice. Rarely my choice. The interior glowed faintly blue as a figure stepped into the opening. She emerged slowly, like she was adjusting to gravity, or maybe the world itself. Tall, slim, almost human, but not. Her skin had a pale, luminous quality, like it reflected more light than it should. Her hair, if that's what it was, fell in smooth strands that seemed untouched by the wind, and her eyes, they locked onto mine instantly. Sharp, bright, faintly glowing blue. Too aware, too precise. We stood there, facing each other across the broken ground. No words, no movement, just observation. I'd seen a lot of things out here, mutants, scavengers, off-world tech, but nothing like her. You crash here often? I called, breaking the silence. No reaction, not even a blink. If she understood me, she didn't show it. Instead, her head tilted slightly, just enough to feel deliberate, like she was analyzing me. measuring, judging. I didn't like that. All right, I said, spreading my hand slightly. You're not talking. That's fine. But if that thing you came in on is worth anything, we're going to need to... Bootsteps. Behind me. I closed my eyes for half a second. Of course. I turned slowly. 3 figures stood at the rim of the crater, silhouetted against the dim sky. Scavengers. You could tell by the way they held themselves. Loose, confident, armed. One had a pipe resting on his shoulder. Another twirled a knife. The third just watched. Lucky night, the one with the pipe said. Thought we saw something drop. Didn't expect company. Yeah, I replied. Funny how that works. Their eyes shifted past me. To her. And I saw it. The moment their greed doubled. Step away from the wreck, the knife guy said, we'll handle it from here. I didn't move. Behind me, I could feel her still standing there. Silent. Watching. The air tightened. You didn't hear him? The third one added, voice colder. Walk away. I let out a slow breath. I could leave. Let them deal with whatever she was. Walk away clean. Smart. Easy. I glanced back at her. She hadn't moved an inch. Still watching me. Not them. Me. Like I was the variable. I turned back to the scavengers. Yeah, I said, rolling my shoulders slightly. That's not going to happen. The one with the pipe grinned. Didn't think so. He stepped forward, and just like that, the night stopped being quiet. The first one came in fast. Too fast for someone swinging a rusted pipe. He led with his shoulders, overcommitting, classic scavenger mistake. They rely on intimidation, not precision. I didn't step back. I stepped in. The pipe whistled past my head, as I ducked just enough to let it miss. My left hand snapped up, deflecting his arm, while my right drove hard into his ribs. I felt it give. A sharp crack under my knuckles. The air exploded out of him in a choked gasp. His grip loosened instantly. Before he could recover, I followed through, elbow up, straight into his jaw. His head snapped back. He dropped. One down. No pause. The second one was already moving. Knife. Short blade. Close range. More dangerous than the pipe, if you knew how to use it. He didn't. He slashed wildly, aiming for my chest. I shifted sideways, letting the blade skim past my jacket, then caught his wrist mid-swing. His eyes widened too late. I twisted. Hard. The joint bent the wrong way with a sickening pop. The knife slipped from his fingers, clattering into the ash. He screamed. I drove my knee into his torso, folded him in half, then shoved him back. He collapsed beside the first, clutching his arm, gasping like a fish dragged onto land. 2 down. The third one didn't move. Smart. He stood at the edge of the crater, eyes darting between me and the 2 bodies on the ground. His stance shifted, less aggressive now, more cautious. He understood. Not enough. Walk away, he said, but there was less confidence in it now. I tilted my head, slightly. You first. For a second, it looked like he might actually take the offer. Then pride kicked in. It always does. He charged. No weapon this time. Just desperation. He swung wide, aiming for my head. I leaned back just enough to let his fist pass, then stepped forward into space. My fist came up from below, clean, direct, connected with his jaw. The impact traveled up my arm, solid and satisfying. His body spun halfway before collapsing into the ash, unconscious before he even hit the ground. 3 down. Silence returned, but it felt different now. Heavier. I rolled my shoulders, exhaling slowly, letting the tension bleed out of my muscles. My hand stung faintly, not pain, just a reminder of impact. Good. That meant I was still alive. I bent down briefly, nudging the knife away with my boot, then straightened and turned back toward the pod, toward her. She hadn't moved. Not a step, not a flinch, but something had changed. Her posture was rigid now, almost locked in place. Her eyes, those glowing, too sharp eyes, were fixed on me with an intensity that felt different. Not fear. Not exactly. It took me a second to place it. Recognition. But not the kind you get from knowing someone. The kind you get when reality doesn't match expectation. You okay? I asked casually, brushing dust off my hands. No response. She took a single step forward, slow, measured. Her gaze dropped to my hands, then back to my face. You used no augmentation, she said. Her voice was clear, smooth, each word precise, like it had been carefully selected before being spoken. I blinked once. Augmentation? No external enhancements, she continued, as if clarifying for a system that needed exact input. No kinetic amplifiers. No neural assistance. No weapon interface. I stared at her for a second. Then I laughed. Yeah, I said, that's called fighting. Her expression didn't change. If anything, she went more still. That level of force output, she said quietly, is not consistent with an unmodified biological unit. Lady. I replied, I don't know what kind of fights you've been watching, but out here, this is pretty standard. Her head tilted slightly again, that same precise angle from before. No, she said, it is not. I frowned. That wasn't arrogance. It was certainty. She stepped closer, close enough now that I could see more detail. The faint patterns beneath her skin, like light moving just under the surface. The way her eyes adjusted, focusing and refocusing with unnatural speed. She wasn't just watching me. She was analyzing. You absorbed multiple impacts, she continued. Delivered structural level damage. Maintained balance, coordination, and efficiency without assistance. I raised an eyebrow. You always talk like that? Yes. Figures. She stopped just a few steps away now. Her gaze fixed on my hands again. Demonstrate, she said. I sighed. We just did this. Again. I gestured vaguely toward the unconscious scavengers. They're still breathing. That count? No. I rubbed the back of my neck. You're serious. Yes. I glanced around the crater, then at the wreck behind her, then back at her. There was no curiosity in her expression, no excitement, just need, like this mattered, more than it should. All right, I muttered, fine. I turned and walked a few steps toward the edge of the crater, where a half-buried support beam from the old refinery jutted out of the ash. Thick, rusted, solid enough. I planted my feet, rolled my shoulders once, then drove my fist into it. The impact rang out sharp and metallic. The beam bent inward with a loud crunch, flakes of rust and dust scattering into the air. I pulled my hand back, flexing my fingers. Behind me, silence. I didn't even need to turn to know she was doing it again. Freezing. Processing. I glanced over my shoulder. She was staring at the dent like it had just broken something fundamental in her understanding of reality. Structural deformation, she whispered. Without mechanical assistance. I shrugged. Told you. Didn't need it. She looked at me again. Slowly. Carefully. You are... She paused, searching for the word. Inefficient. I blinked. Inefficient. Yes. Your methods lack optimization, precision enhancement, energy conservation protocols. I smirked slightly, and I still won. That stopped her. Not physically, but something in her expression shifted just a fraction. Yes, she admitted. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The wind picked up again, dragging ash across the crater floor in soft, whispering waves. Then, a sound, high-pitched, distant, but growing. Her head snapped upward instantly. Mine followed a second later. Lights, small, fast, moving in formation across the darkened sky. Her voice dropped, quieter now. They've come. I looked at her. Friends of yours. No. The way she said it, flat, certain, told me everything I needed to know. The lights multiplied. Dozens now. Descending. I exhaled slowly, rolling my neck. All right, I said. Round two. The lights grew larger as they descended. Not stars. Not ships. Something in between. They moved too precisely. Tight formation. Perfect spacing. No wasted motion. Black shapes cut through the violet sky, reflecting almost no light, like they were designed not just for combat, but for intimidation or retrieval. Beside me, she didn't move. but I could feel the shift in her presence. Tension. Not fear, still not that, but something closer to urgency. They are not standard enforcement units, she said quietly. Yeah, I replied, eyes locked upward. I figured they weren't here to talk. The first of them broke formation, then another, then all at once, they dropped, fast, controlled. They didn't crash, they arrived, landing in a wide circle around the crater, kicking up spirals of ash that danced in the air like ghosts. Each one was sleek, angular, hovering just above the ground. No visible propulsion, no visible weakness. Weapons extended instantly, every single one pointed inward, at her. I glanced sideways. You got a lot of fans. They are not here for admiration. No kidding. A pulse of energy rippled through the air, soft, almost invisible, but I felt it pass through me like a wave of static. My skin prickled. Scanning. Target confirmed. One of the drones transmitted. The voice wasn't a voice. Flat. Mechanical. Too clean. The asset will be retrieved. I frowned. Asset? That's what you are to them. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes moved across the drones, calculating, tracking. I could almost see the data running behind them. Yes, she said finally. I let out a breath through my nose. Yeah, I don't like that. Stand down, the drone repeated. Non-designated entity. Withdraw or be neutralized. I looked around the circle. Counted quickly. Too many. Too well-armed. Too synchronized. If they opened fire all at once, this crater would turn into a glass bowl. I cracked my neck slightly. Yeah, I said, that's not happening either. The air tightened. Then, a flash. The first shot fired. I moved before the sound even hit. My hand shot out, grabbing her arm, pulling her down as the blast tore through the space where she'd been standing. The air burned, leaving a shimmering distortion behind. More shots followed. Rapid, precise. I shoved her behind a chunk of broken debris as energy blasts carved lines through the crater floor. Stay low, I said. I am capable of... Not the point. I snapped. They're aiming at you. That makes you the problem. I am not the problem. Right now, you are. Another blast slammed into debris, sending fragments scattering. I leaned out just enough to assess. They weren't advancing, just holding position, containing, waiting. For her. Why aren't you fighting back? I asked. She hesitated. That was all the answer I needed. Great. I muttered. So it's just me, then. I pushed off the ground before she could respond. Ran straight at the nearest drone. Behind me, I felt again that stare, locked onto me, frozen, like she couldn't look away. The drone adjusted instantly, tracking my movement. Its weapon shifted, charging for another shot. Too slow. I closed the distance fast, boots kicking up ash as I sprinted uphill. The ground sloped against me, but I used it, pushing harder, faster. It fired. I pivoted mid-run. The blast grazing past my shoulder, heat slicing through the air. Then I jumped. Not high, not flashy, just enough. My hand slammed onto the drone's frame as I collided with it mid-air. The surface was smooth, too smooth, but I found purchase anyway, fingers digging into the seams that weren't supposed to be there. The machine reacted instantly. Thrusters flared. It tried to pull away. I didn't let it. With a grunt, I twisted my body and drove it downward. Hard. The impact cracked the ground beneath us. The drone's frame buckled slightly, its systems flickering for just a fraction of a second. That was enough. I grabbed hold of one of its extended weapon arms and pulled. Metal resisted, then screamed. The arm tore free with a shower of sparks. I swung it back into the drone's core. Once, twice. The glow at its center flickered violently, then died. The machine dropped. Dead weight. I landed beside it, breathing heavier now. One down. I didn't stop. Another drone shifted position, recalibrating. Its weapon charged. I was already moving. Closed the gap before it could fire again. This time, I didn't jump. I drove straight into it, shoulder first, knocking it off balance. My hand came up, slamming into its underside. feeling for anything that gave. Found it. A weak point. Small. Hidden. I hit it anyway. The drone jerked violently, its system spasming before it collapsed into the ash. 2 down. Around me, the others adjusted. Formation tightening. Weapons recalibrating. They were learning. Good. So was I. Behind me, silence. I risked a glance. She hadn't moved from where I left her, still partially crouched, still untouched, but her eyes locked on me. Wide now, not frozen anymore. Not exactly. Something else. Your methods, she said, almost to herself, are non-linear. I smirked faintly. Yeah, that's one way to put it. Another drone fired. I ducked, rolled, came up already moving toward the next target. No weapons, no enhancements, no system guiding me. Just instinct, timing, and force. The third drone went down harder than the others, ripped from the air and slammed into the crater wall with enough force to crack its frame open. Sparks lit the dim landscape. The circle was breaking. Not clean anymore. Not perfect. And that mattered, because perfect systems don't like chaos. And I was very, very good at chaos. I stopped for half a second, standing in the center of the crater, surrounded by smoking wreckage and hover machines that no longer looked so certain. Then I looked back at her. She was standing now, fully upright, watching me like I wasn't just a man, like I was something else, something her world didn't account for. You, she said slowly, should not be possible. I rolled my shoulders, breathing steady despite the burn in my muscles. Yeah, I replied. You're not the first to say that. Above us, more lights flickered in the sky, more incoming. I glanced up, then back at her. Hope you've got a plan, I said. She didn't answer immediately. Her gaze remained fixed on me, analyzing, recalculating. Then finally, I do now. The sky didn't stop filling. More lights broke through the violet clouds, larger this time, slower, controlled in a way the drones weren't. These weren't hunters. They were commanders. I wiped the sweat from my brow with the back of my hand, breathing heavier now, the burn in my arms settling deeper with every second. Around me, the wreckage of broken drones smoldered quietly, their once perfect formation reduced to scattered debris. But the ones still in the air? They had adapted. Their spacing widened, their angles shifted, no longer trying to overwhelm me all at once. Now they were studying. Yeah, I muttered, that's more like it. Behind me, she stepped forward, not hiding anymore, not passive. Her voice came sharper now, faster, more focused. They are recalibrating based on your movement patterns. I noticed they will begin predictive targeting within seconds. Then we don't give them seconds. I moved again, fast, no hesitation. I charged toward the nearest drone before it could finish adjusting. It fired early, too early. The shot went wide as I cut sharply to the side, closing in at an angle instead of head-on. I grabbed the edge of its frame and used its own momentum to swing myself up, driving my heel down into its core. The casing cracked. Not enough. I hit it again. Harder. The glow flickered, then stabilized. All right, I growled. You're tougher. The drone pulsed violently, trying to shake me off. Energy surged through its body, heat flaring against my hands. I didn't let go. Instead, I shifted my grip and pulled. Not clean, not efficient, just force. The outer plating warped under pressure, bending with a grinding shriek until something inside finally gave way. The light inside collapsed, and the machine dropped in the air like a stone. I landed hard, knees bending to absorb the impact. 3 left in immediate range. More above, I glanced back. She was watching, but not like before. Not frozen, not confused. Focused, calculating. Her eyes tracked not just me, but the drones, the spacing, the timing. You are disrupting their coordination field, she said. I smirked faintly. I get that a lot too. No, she said, stepping closer. You do not understand. Their system depends on predictability, shared data. You are introducing variables they cannot stabilize. I straightened slightly. Good. That is not good, she replied. It makes you a priority target. Already figured that part out. As if on cue, all remaining drones shifted at once. Not toward her, toward me. I exhaled slowly. Yeah, I said, there it is. The air hummed. Weapons charge in unison. Brighter than before, sharper, more focused. No warning this time. They fired together. I moved, not away, forward. I sprinted straight into the barrage, weaving between blasts that scorched the ground around me. One clipped my side, heat slicing through fabric and skin. I gritted my teeth but didn't slow down. Distance closed. Fast. The first drone tried to adjust mid-fire. Too late. I slammed into its shoulder first, driving it sideways into another. The collision disrupted both, their systems flickering as they struggled to stabilize. I grabbed one midair and spun, using its own mass as a weapon, smashing into the third before any of them could recover. The impact sent all three crashing into the crater floor. I followed. No pause. No mercy. My fist came down again and again, targeting the weak points I'd already learned. Small fractures in their design. Sparks burst with every hit. Metal warping under repeated blows. One failed. Then another. The last one tried to lift. I grabbed it mid-rise and slammed it back down. Hard. The glow inside shattered. Silence. Real silence this time. I stayed there for a moment, crouched among the wreckage, breathing hard, the ache in my body catching up all at once. Then slowly, I stood. The crater was filled with smoke now, faint trails rising into the darkening sky. Above us, the larger ships had stopped descending. They hovered, watching. I turned. She was standing a few steps away, closer than before. Her expression, if I could call it that, had changed again. Not frozen, not analytical. Something else. Something deeper. You altered the outcome, she said quietly. I let out a breath. Yeah, that's kind of the goal. No, she continued, stepping even closer. You altered their expectations. That is far more significant. I frowned slightly. You're going to have to translate that. She looked up at the sky, at the ships now holding position above us. In my civilization, she said, conflict is resolved through superior systems. Prediction, optimization, control. I shrugged. Sounds like they rely on it too much. Yes, she said. Then she looked back at me. And you broke it. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The wind moved again, lighter now, carrying the scent of burnt metal across the ash fields. Above us, one of the larger ships shifted slightly. Not attacking, not retreating, observing. They are assessing, she said. Figured. They will not engage again without understanding you. I smirked faintly. Good luck with that. Her gaze didn't waver. They will not stop. Neither will I. That seemed to settle something in her. A decision. You are no longer incidental, she said. You are now a factor. I raised an eyebrow. I've been called worse. This will escalate, she continued. What you demonstrated here will not remain isolated. I followed her gaze up to the sky. More lights, far beyond the first wave. Watching, waiting. Yeah, I said quietly. I had a feeling. She stepped beside me now, no distance left between us. For the first time since she arrived, we stood as equals, not observer and anomaly, not asset and outsider. Something else, something new. This changes everything, she said. I cracked my knuckles, eyes still on the ships above. For you? I asked. For everyone. I nodded slowly. Then they're really not going to like what happens next. Above us, the galaxy had started paying attention. And for once, it wasn't ready for what it found.